All right, so it's the fourth question, like the Excel one. Yeah, so let's go through. The given spreadsheet segment shows the distribution of monthly tea price for the year 2015. Use the above spreadsheet segment to answer the following questions. So it says a formula of form function cell 1 colon cell 2 is written in cell B16. Cell B16. Right? Cell B16. To calculate and display the average price of tea for the year 2015. Write down the relevant terms for functions, function 1, cell 1 and cell 2. Yes. So we know it's very easy to calculate the average. We need the average function. So you have the function 1 represents average. Cell 1 and cell 2. Now be very careful. They are talking about the average price for tea, average price of tea for the year 2015. So in this Excel sheet, there are figures like belongs to the 214 and 215 both. The very first line, that means the very first line means the very first record of the table, which is starting from A3. This is from 2014, so you are not going to use that, right? Rest will be used. So this is going to be your range. So your range is going to be B4 colon B15. So cell 1 can be taken as B4, cell 2 can be taken as B15, and those can be changed or toggled, right? B1 cell 1 B15 dila, cell 2 B40 B4 dunata, there is no problem, right? So cell 1 is average, B1, function 1 is average, cell 1 is B4, cell 2 is B15, right? You can get like that. So let's have the marking scheme as well. So it will be much easier. There it goes. Yeah. So yeah, things can be like this. Right. So average B4 colon B15 and function 1, cell 1 and cell 2 will be like that. So the second one, they are talking about the price difference of average monthly price for the month of December is calculated as follows. Price difference December equals price December minus price November. So here what I was talking about, like when we are doing the previous papers, I told you a subtraction can also be done using the sum function, right? So here they have asked it directly. A formula of the form equals function 2 cell 3 colon cell 4 is written in cell C15. C15 means somewhere around here. This is the C15. So cell C15 to display the price difference for December 2015. Write down the relevant terms for function 2, cell 3 and cell 4. So this is anyway going to be a function, right? So you have to think. So there is not very much things to think, but you have to be careful when you are writing this. So it's a subtraction. So when you are writing a subtraction, cell references, some of the cell references should have the minus mark. In this case, now they are going to reduce the price November. Now price November is what? This is price November from price December, right? So right below is the price December. So if we generally write this like a formula, right? If we like this as an equation, we are going to be like what? Equals B15 minus B14. This is going to be your equation. But when it comes to the function, your function is going to be equal sum. We can say it in two different ways. B15 comma minus B14 or the other way around. Right? That means minus B14 comma B15 with equal sum. So you can go for that, right? Doesn't matter. So let's see the marking scheme. Yes, the marking scheme shows like this, and in that year they have given the marks for this particular equation as well, because it was a very new thing for the 2014 people, 16 people, right? So either one of those, but it's better you know about this, right? So 3 marks for the first part and 1 mark for the equation. And they say 1 mark if this question has been attempted. So that means the marks are given like උත්තරේ වැරදුනත් උත්සාහ කළ තිබෙන ලකුණු දෙනවා. Right? Then they're asking about copying that particular formula into some point. So they say what would be the formula displayed in cell C4 if the formula in C15 is copied to cell C4. So the one which is here is going to copy to this particular place, right? So it's easy now. Here they are having what? Equal sum B15 comma minus B14. So you are like from the place or from the cell, you are going upwards on the same column. So going upwards on the same column means your letter is not going to change, but the numbers, of course, they are going to change. So it's going to decrease. column copy කරන්න. So it's going to decrease. So from B15 it decreased like 14, 13, likewise until when? Until 4. So you can say equals sum නේද අපිට count කරන්න පුළුවන්, right? So he if 15 represents here, this represents 14, this represents 13, right? So likewise when we move top, this is going to be B4 comma මෙතන 15ට වඩා එකක් නේ මෙයා අඩු 14 වෙනකොට නේද? So this is going to be minus B3. You can think it comparatively logically, right? So you can say sum B4 comma minus B3, right? So that would be your answer. So function 2 is sum cell 2. Have they asked like that? No. They are just asking it they are just asking what should be the formula. So formula is going to be something like this. That's what the marking scheme says as well. So equal B4 minus B3 or sum B4 comma minus B3. Actually, it's better you have the equal sign. Danidu, we can put up because in that year you are given the mark for both the scenarios, right? But be careful now if you got it onto your examination, since they have said something like this, it's better you go with the sum function, because ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක function එකේ structure එකෙම කොහොමද කියලා අහලා තියෙනවනේ කලින් ප්‍රශ්නවල. So it's better stick to that thing, right? Okay, then the fourth part, any two. Yeah, so they're asking about what are the like suitable graphs. Name 2 appropriate chart types available in spreadsheet software to show the variation in the average monthly price of tea for the year 2015, right? So what we have to do is we are going to plot these particular things, these particular data onto a graph or onto a chart. Leandra, table chart table chart එකේ උඩ තියෙන line chart එකක් තමයි. Let me go through that. ඉන්නකෝ පොඩ්ඩක් මට table chart එක generate කරගෙන චුට්ටක් බලන්න. Table chart. Leandra, so like table chart කියලා දුව refer කරේ the one which shows the table below and the chart above, something like that. මොකද අපේ මං ගාව තියෙන version එකේ table chart කියන කියලා category එකක් නැහැ. So maybe it can be there in the older ones as well. Table chart. Yeah, so you have to go with column chart then, Leandra, because it's the proper name for that. Because of the table chart keyword, it's not going to represent what it is, though. Right? I'll go through whether there is like whether as I remember, they haven't named the column chart as table chart before, right? It's better we go with the name which Excel shows to us, because we are talking about this spreadsheet. So it's better you go with column chart too. It's better you go with column chart, right? Okay, so they ask a name two appropriate chart types available in spreadsheet software to show the variation in the average monthly price of tea for 2015. Now, people, be very careful, right? Now, in the answers, it says bar chart, line chart, column chart, right? And I think we can recommend some of the others as well. There is something called area chart. Yeah, area chart will not be very much good, but column can, line we can, yes, bar chart we can, right? So that would be a good like the best, the better answers, right? So any two of these things, bar, line, and column. And why the pie chart is not suitable for this? Because they are asking the what the variation. So if we found a pie chart, we can apply a pie chart for this particular range. That doesn't matter because it has one particular range, but the variation cannot be easily seen through the pie chart. So එක මේක fluctuate වෙනවද උඩ යනවද පහළ යනවද කියන එක හරියට අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. It's kind of a bar chart or a column chart. And again the line chart can be taken, right? So it is, which we are going to tell one of like two of those three which is given in your marking scheme, like bar chart, line chart, and column chart. Excuse me. Yeah, and it is given 3 marks. Each correct answer have 1.5. That means 1.5 for bar chart and 1.5 for line chart. And as the last question, they are asking, what cell range would you use for the horizontal axis to draw the chart in your answer in for above? Like, you have to think, like if you are going to generate the chart, if it is a bar chart, like our bars should show the figures neither month again figures pennano, right? So this should be on Jan, this should be on Feb, right? This should be on March likewise, and here they are having the figures neither. I'm not going to go for the actual figures, so likewise here going to go the figures. So they are asking about what cell range would you use for the horizontal axis. Now this is the horizontal axis, right? So when it comes to the horizontal axis, you can say it's going to be what the values which are right over here, right? Which is from A4 to actually not until A16, A4 to A15, right? So A4 to A15 you can take, and again B4 to B15 can be take. Like if you are going to use a different type means like the look at this, when it comes to the bar chart, the column chart, it's going to be like this, and here they don't have yeah, hold on. When it comes to the bar chart, it's going to be the මේ වගේ වුණාම x axis එකේ පෙන්නන්නේ figures ටික නේ, මෙතන පෙන්නන්නේ figures ටික. So then the x axis එක වෙන්නේ figures, right? So they have given marks for both the scenarios, either A4 to A15 or B4 to B15, right? Hari, right? So 2 marks for that. And please sum up the things. So the first part is having 3 marks, second and third is having just 1 mark for each, and fourth part is having 3 marks for the different 2 types of the charts, and the last part is having 2 marks. All right, so moving to the next question, the question number 5. Anyone who has done the 5th question? All right, okay, let's go with that. Okay, in the 5th question, it is regarding the database, one of the easiest questions again. A school band has collection of instrument, right? And they are lent to students who do not have instruments but want to be part of the school band. The school band maintains a database to manage the lending of instruments to the students. The database contains tables as given below. So you can see there are 3 types of tables: instrument table, student table, and borrowing table. So instrument table is having IID, like naturally it's going to be the index, the primary key field, and instrument, and received on, it's a date, right? And a student table SID, which is again can be taken as a primary key, and name and a grade. And borrowing table, you got a date and IID and SID, right? So the first question, as usual, they are asking list 2 primary key fields and their respective table names in the above database, right? So IID can be taken for the instrument table because it is having unique values, and it is having all the characteristics which can be seen as a good primary key, right? So IID for instrument table and SID for the student table, right? Now, when it comes to the IDs, it's give us this idea about like like making them or like using them in a unique way, right? ඒකලෝ වැඩි repeat වෙන්නේ නැහැ ID කියලා කිව්වම අපිට ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට idea එකක් දෙනවා මේක තමයි primary key එකට වඩාත් සුදුසු කියන එක, but it's better you go through the things whether things are being whether the uh, values inside that particular column are repeating or not to make sure, right? So in this case for student table it's going to be S underscore ID, and remember the exact way of writing will gain you the marks, right? So it should be always S under, always means according to this particular question it should be S underscore ID, right? And for borrowing table, if we go through the date is being repeated, and we usually we are not in very rare cases we are using the date. Usually we are not going to take, and in here you won't be able to take the Danindu. No Danindu spacing. Here you don't have spaces in between letters, Puta. So it's not a compulsory. It should be as it is, right? Table එකේ පෙන්නලා තියෙන විදිහම වෙන්න ඕන answer කරලා, right? Otherwise they are going to put incorrect, right? So the date it is usually repeated in this table, so like you can't take the date because these two things are same, so it is not unique. And when it comes to the IID, again this particular one and this particular one are same, and when it comes to the SID, again this particular one as well as this particular one are same. So like we can't actually say one particular column as the primary key. And let's think about two things. Then අපි දන්නවනේ මේක කොහොමද යන්නේ කියන එක නේද? Let's think about whether we can have SID and IID together. Here they have a very special scenario. Now, if you take IID and SID, now if you take this particular record, it's going to be 1003S004. And look at the last one. Again, they are same. 1003S, maybe it's I003S004. So that means IID and SID together again cannot be taken as a primary key. So what should we do? Because a table must have a primary key. And then the only option that we can do, that we can have is the entire record can be taken as a primary key. That means date, IID, SID, everything should be taken as a primary key, right? So that's a special one. So they are just asking list two primary key fields and their respective table names in the above database. So the better way is to go for the tables where we can identify the primary keys very easily, right? Which will save you some time as well. So here it says, yeah, they haven't talked about the third table anyway. They have said IID in instrument table and SID in student table. So 3 marks are given, right? So have the markings and see how much you have gained. And the second one, it says about some transaction. Let's see what it is. The school band received a donation of 2 new drums on 2nd of December 2016. So we have to identify there are some details that they are saying. The band receives a donation of 2 new drums on 2nd of December 2016. What tables need to be updated in the database? So if you think about the instruments, since they are talking about the drums, so trumpet, clarinet and a trumpet is there. So instrument table does not have drums, so you should have a line, a record to the instrument table. And they are not talking about borrowing it to a student, so borrowing table will not get affected, and they are not talking about any new student. So it's just the instrument table that's going to affect, and the update row is going to be what? Since drums are like new to that particular thing, right? We are going to have 1004, and here it's drum, and we are going to put it like 2nd December 2016. So 2nd 12 to 16, we are going to see. I'm having doubts whether they are talking about, yes, they're talking about two things, right? Because the two drums are there. So it's like 1004 and 1005. Two records are being used, right? So for the A part, it's the instrument table, and for the B part, you should have two lines. We are not, there is no space, or there is no column to indicate how many drums or how many drums are there, right? So for that, you should have 1004 for one drum and 1005 for the other drum, right? So that's very tricky point, but you should capture that. So in the marking scheme, they have given 1 mark for identifying the table and 2 mark, like 1 mark for each record, and 2 marks altogether for the B part. Right, so what I need you to do the most is like learn the points, learn the places that you can lose the marks, right? So be very conscious when you are doing the things. And again, here, have you noticed this? They have said it, Dina Akrutiya Diyati Akarayatama Tibiyati. So like date is at the first, month is at the second, and year is in 4 numbers, right? So it's should goes like that. And let me see whether they are like saying anything else. No, that's all. That's all. Yeah, in third part, they are talking about some other thing. Yeah, people, give me a confirmation. Is it clear so far? Especially about the previous point. Right, great. Okay, so you know you can always disturb me if you need to have any clarifications, right? All right, so the third part, it says, someone joins the band on 8th of December 2016 and borrows a trumpet on the same day. So remember, you have to capture all the things. It says someone joins the band. That means he's going to be a new one. So someone joined the band on 8th of December 2016 and borrows a trumpet on the same day. So you can see when you think about the student table, there is only Nuan and Kumara. Someone is not there, so he joins. So he should have another new value, let's say 006. So Saman should be comes under here, and they haven't mentioned anything about the grade. I think the marking scheme will give the marks for that. And he has joined it on the 8th of December and borrowed a trumpet on the same day. So then the borrowing table should be referred. So 8th of December. So you have to say 8/12/2016, and this IID is going to be the trumpet's ID, which means yeah, there are two trumpets, which is 100 I001 and I003. So they haven't specified anything, so you can go for anything, right? Doesn't matter whether it is I001 or I003. And the student number is definitely going to be the number that you have put to the summon, because you can have something other than S004 and 5, right? 4 5 ඇරුණම වෙන ඕන number එකක් මෙයාට දාන්න පුළුවන්, but it should be on the same format, right? So two things should be updated. So in the first part, they are asking what table needs to be updated in the database. So we can say student table and the borrowing table. And they are asking us to write down the record. So let's see how the marking scheme says about the records. Yes, in the summon, in the student table, any SID without existing ones acceptable. Grade can have any number 1 to 13, blank, not included. So if you put it blank, it doesn't matter. If you include anything, it should be in between 1 to 13, because in a school there is no grade less than 1 and larger than 13, right? So be careful, right? Even you can keep it as a blank cell, like they shows here, right? And for the other records, so any IIDs, as I showed you, I001 can be there, I003 can be there, but the student ID should be the student ID that you have used. If you have used S001, then instead of S006, there should be S001, right? Okay, that's how it happens. So the marks are going to be 1 mark for each table. So altogether 2 marks that you are going to gather for the third part of the, or the first part, A part of the third question. And for the B part, they are going to give you 1 mark for each record. And again, 2 marks that you can collect, right? Yeah, in the, is that all? Let me see. Yes, only 3 parts are there. Yes. So altogether, see how many out of 10 you got. Right. So moving to the 6th question. Assume that the principal of your school. So anyone who has done the 6th question? Yes, people, anyone? Okay, Natas, let's go with it. Danindu, yeah. Assume that the principal of your school requests you to develop a computer-based system for generating report cards to replace the current manual system. So this is regarding system. So you should get in the idea. It should be something system development life cycle. As the accuracy of the report card is a very important factor, your IT teacher advises you to determine a suitable deployment approach. So what they are doing is they are trying to replace a computer-based system for the generating report cards, right? So previously it may have done manually, right? So yes. Yes, Heshani, since we are running with the time, will you go through the recording? Do I have done the recording? Do a recording එක පොඩ්ඩක් refer කරන්න. Right, okay. Right. So in the A part, they say state one method that can be used to gather the requirement of the system. State one method that can be used to gather the requirement of the system. Like there are many things. Like we can use interviews, we can use observations, we can use questionnaires, right? Like we can refer the sample documents, right? We can refer the previous reports. Like there are a lot of things, right? Yes, Danidu, the recordings are available. I'll show you the places, right? So hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning. That is doing the class with the ILS. Okay, you can run with mom now. Okay. Right, so as the marking scheme shows, you can see the observation, document review, interviewing, questionnaires, surveys, prototyping, likewise, right? So you can have any. And in the B part, let's see what's happened with the B part. It says you have decided to use the waterfall model to develop the new. Let's watch TV. The new system. Okay. Point out one limitation of the waterfall model. Yes, we know there are many limitations regarding the waterfall model, like the user should give the exact requirement, or the user should know the requirements exactly when he is at the very first phase of waterfall model. And within the waterfall model, when we move to the later phase, we can't move again to the earlier phases, right? There will be those kind of limitations. So let's see what the marking scheme says. So one of these things, final product is available only at the end of the process, not possible to change requirements. All the requirements should be identified at start, unable to go back to previous phases as we talk about, right? So one out of those options, right? If you got any alternative answers, just let me know. I'll tell you whether it is correct or wrong, right? And the second one is asking about an alternative one. They write down an alternative deployment approach to the waterfall model. So in your case, like iterative, spiral, prototyping kind of things, you may not know, because in your book, it's the rapid development thing, as I remember, and the agile method. Neither. Previous may they let me prefer the note. I really don't remember what are the methods. I remember we talk about the waterfall and iterative incremental model was there. And was it the only two? They have given some names right over here: waterfall, iterative incremental, prototyping, and spiral. But they just talk about the waterfall and the iterative incremental model only. So you can go with one of those, right? So in the marking scheme, they say iterative, spiral, prototyping, right? And you can go with those, right? Like one of these things, or one of these things in your textbook, like iterative, prototyping, and spiral is there additionally. Method spiral. Yes, a prototyping is there additionally, I think. Here they are not. No. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? So one of these three. Yes, iterative, spiral, and prototype. Yes, although they have said something, although not relevant to an alternative to waterfall method due to appearance of the term deployment. One of parallel and pilot deployment. Yes, that is because of their mistake. They have referred this as a deployment methods. So in that case, if someone write the parallel or the pilot, still they are going to take the marks. Right, and for the C part, it says, what would be the most appropriate deployment method for this system? Now, since this has a risk means like Now it's a critical thing, as the accuracy of the report card is very important factor, they said. And like the implementation method like direct deployment won't be very suitable for this. Let's go through the marking scheme as well. So parallel or pilot, they say, right? Because we know parallel is you can apply the new system with the old system, and you have to carry out both these scenarios for a certain period until the new system is okay with you, or like satisfied, or you are confident with the new system. If the when you have the confidence of the new system, so you can get rid of the old system. So anyway, you have to continue both the system for a certain amount of period, so which is called the parallel deployment. Pilot deployment, as you can see, pilot means you can choose a one specific place. So we can say, let's apply the new system to the primary section. So we'll generate the reports card of the primary section using the new system, and we'll keep running the all system in the what we call the secondary section. So once the pilot project or the pilot system is okay, we can apply it to the entire organization. So either parallel or the pilot should be the answer. You cannot take the pace, because report card cannot be partially created digitally and partially created manually. So if you comes to the pace deployment, it's going to be something like that. And having the direct deployment is risky. If you got any problem, you don't have anything as a backup, so which is not a good thing, right? And in the next question, they are asking about state one reason for the recommendation you made in one above. So you can say for the safety, for the minimize risk. So those kind of answers can be taken. So safer, less risky approach, right? So those kind of answers can be taken for the this particular question, right? So if you got any alternative answers, just let me know, right? So I can correct these things, right? And in the very last part, they are asking what would be the most appropriate, oh no, not the C, it's the D part we are talking about. Yeah, in the second part, they says a company with head office in Colombo and 3 branches in Candymatra and Jaffna decide to conduct a monthly branch manager meeting using the video conferencing technology. Write down one advantage of using the video conferencing technology for the company. So, like you can say, they can have the conversation by locating in different geographical areas, and they can have the meeting at any time that they need to have, so the time constraint is will not be a barrier for that, right? And it will save the money, which means it is cost saving or cost effective, right? So likewise, you can go with the answers. So they have said one of save time, save traveling cost, and they can have many, right? If you got one of those, as I mentioned you, so just have 1 mark for that, right? And in the second one, they may asking about the challenges. Write down one problem the company may face when the using of video conferencing technology, right? So like if you got a question like this, you can answer it very easily on these days, because if you think about the barriers that we are facing when we are doing the class online, those will be the very same problems that you are going to face when there is a video conference. So signal problems may be there, right? Like lack of signals, will be a problem. Must have an internet connection will be a challenge or a problem, right? Should have the knowledge of handling the video conference should be a problem, right? So those kind of things. Let's see, it says lack of face-to-face interaction, need for an internet connection, high initial cost and high maintenance cost, need for technical support, right? Those things will be the requirements or will be the challenges when you are facing to do the video conference. And the part C says, currently the above company uses printed letters and memos to communicate with its employees. It decides to use modern technology to replace the current method of communicating with employees. Recommend a suitable messaging technology for this purpose. Yeah, now the cost-effective one is going to be an email, right? So as the marking scheme shows, email. And for the instant messaging, MMS, they said it's not the most appropriate solution. Yes, when it comes to the letters and all these things, we are not using instance messages like Viber and WhatsApp kind of things, or the MMSs to send those things. Like the most appropriate one will be the email, right? So, and if you gave any answers like SMS, you are not going to have the marks for that. So 1 mark is given for the particular proposed communication method. And further, they ask it, in addition to the video conference and your recommendation in the above C state, 2 other methods the company can use to communicate with its employees using modern technology. So for the communication, right, like disregarding letters and all these things, for the communication, we can have the instance messages as well, right? So as they say, social media, SMS, wikis, that means one of the Wikipedia products, and forums, online chatting, teleconferencing, instance messaging. So you can give many different answers, like the only thing that should satisfy is like you should have a communication method to communicate with each other without meeting face to face, right? So it would give you the marks. All right, so people, there are some things they have mentioned. Hold on. If answer give for the part D is not included for part C, marks can be given. All correct answers given for part C are correct answers for part D. Yeah, any answers not given for, yeah. Some general stuff. So you can have 1 mark for each. So that means D part is going to have 2 marks. C is going to have 1 mark, and B is going to have 1 mark again, and A is going to have 1 mark. And for the first part, A is going to have 1 mark, B is going to have 2 marks, and C is going to have 2 marks again. Right? So likewise, see how many out of 10. So the very last question is about the Pascal or the programming. Right. Anyway, I'm doing this question because I need you to have this knowledge for the MCQs as well. Right? Because MCQ වල මේක කතා බහ වෙන නිසා අපි මේක කතා කරන එක හොඳයි. Right? So let's go through the lesson. The pseudocode given below reads 2 numbers and display the large number. So it says start get A comma B. If A larger than B, then display A, else display B, and if, and stop. Draw a flow chart to represent the above pseudocode, which is a very simple one when you are given with the pseudocode, right? So ඔය දෙපැත්තම අපිට හරි ලේසි. When you are given a pseudocode, it's easier to draw a flow chart. When you are given the flow chart, it is easier for you to create the pseudocode, right? So let's see how this happens. So start should stay as start. You can't have the word begin right over here. And they say get A and B. So you can simply have an input box and write the same thing. Get A comma B. Simple as that. And then it says if. Now, when it says if, you should remember, okay, this is regarding a selection because we talk about if structure in the pseudocode is indicating a selection. There is another structure which we can use for the selection. What is that structure? Anyone who is remembering that? Something which is work like an if? Yes. Yeah, if is the one that we are using. I'm asking what is something similar for that? Yes, කවුද if වගේ වැඩ කරන අනිත් එක්කෙනා? There is a structure called case, right? Right, I'll show you where we discussed that. Where did we talk about case? It was there, as I remember. This is the follow. Hold on. Here it is. So you can remember this is regarding that grading example. නේද අපි කරා මේක මට මතක විදිහට නේද අපි මාක් එකක් දීලා යාගේ grade එක මොකක්ද කියලා තීරණය කරන්න. So we can write it from the ifs as well like this. නේද මේ තියෙන්නේ if and else if වලින් ලියලා. But when it comes to the case, we can write it as well, write this as well. Right, product case වලදී it is getting limited, right? The things that we can do, the selection is limited. Only for the cases like this, where the number comparison and all these things can be used. But when it comes to the if, you can handle any selection, right? So remember, right, when it comes to the repetition, it has while, it has repeat until, it has for to do the repetition, right? Okay. So start, so get A comma B, so that's going to be the input. Then you are going to use what? A selection. So in the pseudocode, in the flow chart, it's going to be a diamond shape, regardless of a repetition or a selection. And your question, it's better you start it from is A larger than B, question mark, right? Then you have to say what should be in the yes path and what should be in the no path, right? Yeah, Danindu, in this scenario, we won't be able to use the case Buddha because, as I told you, it's regarding the numbers. Number range එකක් තිබ්බොත් තමයි අපිට මේ වැඩේ කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. මට මතක විදිහට we won't be able to do it from the case. I'll go through that, right? මොකද ඒක range එකක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ range එක දුන්නොත් තමයි මම case example එක පොඩ්ඩක් explain කරන්නම්. Right? So if it is years, then it is going to be A larger than B should display A. Then it is an output, so we have to say display A. Then here it should display B. And again, now the yes path, that means if this particular thing is done, so in the else path this particular thing is done. So now your flow should goes to an end, as well as this should be connected with this. Why we are connecting like that? Because in a if condition or in a selection, they are going to deviate the path due to the condition, and then again at some point they are going to connect, or like they are coming together again at some point. So for that reason, and it is a characteristics of a if condition or a selection, right? බෙදිලා යනවා condition එකකට උවමනා වුණාම ආයෙත් මගදී එක තැනකදී ආයෙත් ඒ දෙන්න common path එකකට වැටෙනවා. Right? So this is going to be the flow chart, and මේ මං ඇඳලා තියෙන විදිහම වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ header, you can flow, but these steps should be there. Right? So let's see how the marking scheme talk about this thing. So marking scheme says, yeah, it should be something like this. So you can use input, enter, get, read, and all these things for this particular input, and output and display and all these things can be taken as the output. And here they haven't put any is word or a question mark, but it's better you go through that because nowadays they are very much into these things, right? So it should be to the pinpoint, right? Yeah, so the marks are given for the start and beginning. They have given for the start and end, for both things they have given 1 mark. 1 mark for each all other correct symbol and labels, right? So like 1 mark for start and end together. If you got start and end both, you can have 1 mark. If you miss anything, you are going to have 0.5. So other than that, input A comma B in a parallelogram will give you 1 mark. So they have said the correct shape and the correct instruction. Both should be there, right? And the diamond box and the condition 1 mark. Output B in the parallelogram 1 mark. Output A in the parallelogram 1 mark. And for yes and no, for saying yes and no labels, they are given 0.5 for each. So like yes getting 0.5 and no is getting 0.5. So 1 mark. And for the completeness, that means if all correct, you are going to have a 1 mark again, right? So be careful when you are writing like something like this. Be careful about the arrows, be careful about the symbols, be careful what you are going to write inside those symbols, right? So altogether for that particular flow chart, you are going to acquire 7 marks, which is huge one, like 7 out of 10. So the last one is talking about a hand tracing part, right? And it says, suppose a school conduct an examination of particular subject for 100 students and recorded the mark scored. So it is for 100 students. Right, so the given flow chart with blank spaces indicated by label A and D is designed to read these marks and display the highest. Identify and write down the appropriate statement for label A, B, C, and D. So the purpose of the flow chart is what? Read these marks and display the highest, right? So there should be a way to read the marks, and there should be a way to decide which is the highest. Okay, now let's come into the flow chart. So it starts, it's a input X. So like we can suspect X is going to be a number because numbers should be inputted, right? So let's say some value, we don't know what value they are going to give it that. Say it's 10. And it says assign X to max in next, this particular instruction. So there is another variable called max, and they are assigning X to max. So that means max is going to be 10 again. And they said count equals 1. So count is going to be another variable. So it is having 1 for the moment. So we are right over here. And then you are having a condition, and you are having another condition at the below. So if you look into this carefully, you can see the flows of your data, right? The flows of your instruction is just flowing on this direction and is deviated by these two. And again, they are meeting on a common path. So meeting on a common path means this must be the if condition. So it's going to be a if, right? එහෙනම් තමයි අපි if එක selection එකක් අඳුනගන්නේ. දෙපැත්තට බෙදලා ගිහිල්ලා එක පාරකට ආයි හම්බෙන්නේ. So we can consider it as a selection. So which we are going to write in if, right? And then you can see this is iterating. So anyway, you should have an iterative condition to iterate. So if this is the if condition, obviously the remaining one, the A indicates the iteration condition. පුනර්කරණය වෙන්න පාවිච්චි කරන කෙනා. And again, we can recognize this because this is the condition which breaks the iteration. මේ පාත් එකට ආපු ගමන් iteration එක break වෙනවා. So one who is breaking the iteration is the iterative condition, right? So these are the basic things that we have to recognize. Right, then let's see what happens. I'm going to get rid of these things, otherwise your question is not very much clear. So there is a condition we know now, it is going to be an iterative condition. So condition which helps us to iterate. Now, why we need to iterate this particular thing? Because the question says you have to input 100 marks, right? Marks, 100 දෙනෙක්ගේ marks දාගන්න. So why we need to iterate this? Because we have to take the marks one by one. So that means we have to manage whether the 100 marks are given or not from the iterative condition. So that is why we are iterating. Right? So the A is going to be something that is working with the iteration. That means something which is going to work with the 100 marks, right? And we have to see what is going to be it. So this is repeating, this is iterating on the years part. So that means if this condition is true, this is going to go on the iteration. So condition method even a condition maker iterate when a true and a condition එකක් වෙන්න ඕනේ, right? So what we can do is, we have to see, as I told you before, we have to see whether the 100 number of marks are given. So the counting of the marks is done by the count variable. That is why we are having a count variable. So as you can see, මෙතන නම් printing mistake එකක් තියෙනවා. මම හිතන්නේ මේකට අදාළව ලකුණු දෙන්න ඇති paper එකේ. So this should be count equals count plus 1 මෙතන plus and equal change වෙලා තියෙනවා. Since this is the original paper, this should be these would have been in the those papers too. So it should be actually count equals count plus 1. So count is increased by 1 along the path. So here it should be something with the count. And since we have to flow on the years path, so count is starting from 1 and we must continue this until 100. So if you are asking count larger than 100, because we can have only a comparison here, like equal, larger than or less than is going to be here. So if count larger than 100, that means 1 is larger than 100. So this is a false. Right? So if it is a false, you won't be able to continue on the yes path. So definitely it's not the greater than sign that you need to use. And then it will be obviously less than, right? Because if you say equals, again it's going to arise the problem, because if it say equals, 1 is equaling 100, which is not, again you have to flow on the no path, but here they are flowing on the yes path. So equal sign won't be there, but here we are getting a problem whether it is less than or equal. We can have two separate symbols for that, right? So we have to see, we have to understand what's the pattern which is going on here. So then x is 10, max is 10 from the first line, x is 10, from the second line, max is 10, and from the third line, count is equals to 1. So let's see. Now let's assume the count is less than 100, only less than 100. It's just assume for the moment, right? So it is less than 100. So yes, the condition is true. So count will be increased by 1. That means 2. And there is an input sign again. So what's the input that we need? Now after that, it is comparing with the max. So now first number is given 10 and it is being equals to the max again. So the maximum value so far we have is the 10. So if there is an input box, so that should definitely be to take the other number, because we have to take 100 numbers. So inside the iteration, you should have a place to take the numbers. So it is the only input shape or the input output shape that we can find inside the iteration. මේ යන පාත් එකේ අපිට තියෙන එකම input box එක, it is this. So this must be an input, otherwise we won't be able to take the 100 numbers. So it should be something similar to the place where we have taken a number already, at the very first place. So it should be duplicated over here. So B is going to be input X without a doubt. So I'm inputting another number. That means let's say 20. So now X is 20 due to this particular step. So then we are going to think about the condition, whether X is larger than max or not. So X is 20, max is 10. So it is, yes, it is true. So it is larger than X. Now the purpose of this flowchart is what? to find the maximum number. So if the given number is larger than the maximum number so far, අපි ගාව දැනට maximum කියලා අපි හිතාගෙන ඉන්නේ 10, අපි දෙන number එක 20. So it is greater than maximum number, which flows on the yes part of the if condition. So then we have to do this particular thing again. නේද? දීපු number එක ලොකු නම් දැනට තියෙන number එකට වඩා the number which has provided should be assigned to the max again. So this particular thing says max equals x again. So that means whatever the x got, give it to max. Right? So that's a definite one. So B is input x, C is max equal x. Right? So now still we are struggling with A, whether it is less than or equal. Then අපි count එකකින් වැඩි කරගත්තා. Then after we give the new number, then we compare, then we assign the x into max, then goes to the top again. Then we are finding whether count is less than 100. It is still yes. So we are asking for another one. So let's say 30. Right? So according to our inputs, this is going to be the third input. I'm sorry, now 30 is not going to be there first. Your count will be increased 3, and then they will ask for a number. So it will be 30, and it's going to be the third input. Now look at the relation between count and the input numbers. So when count is 1, you have got, in the very first time, you have given the number and count become 1. Then count increase, then you have asked, then they have asked the number. Then after again count increased for 3, then they have asked the number. So inside the iteration, first they increase the count, then they are asking for a number. So on that case, when the count is increased to 100, they will ask for the 100th value. count එක 3 වුණාම තමයි තුන්වෙනි වැලියු එක ගත්තේ. count එක 2 වුණාම තමයි දෙවෙනි වැලියු එක ගත්තේ. එහෙනම් count එක 100 වුණාම තමයි 100th value එක අරගන්නේ. Right? So thereafter our requirement is done. Count එක 100 වුණා, 100 වෙනි value එක ගත්තා. So it will be compared with this particular condition. If it is greater than the max, C will happen, otherwise nothing will happen. And it is going to continue now. So it's continuing. So after the 100th value. So here, now what's the requirement? We need to exit from the iteration. Right? මොකද දැන් අපි 100ක් අරගෙන ඉවරයි. 100 අරගත්තන් පස්සේ අපි මෙතනින් exit වෙන්න ඕනේ. So ඒ කියන්නේ මෙතනට එනකොට this condition should be a false one. So if you keep count less than 100, so when it is here after the 100th value, it's going to be something like this: 100 less than 100. Now this is a false one because 100 is not less than 100, but it is equal. So it will going to flow from here. So what we have assumed is correct. If you put the equal sign, what will happen? So it is not less than, but still it is equals. So goes down again. Count will be increased to 101 and will be asked for another number. And that number will be compared. And if it is larger than any number that you have given, that will be taken as the maximum value. But what is the wrong? What is the mistake that we are making? We are asking for 101st value, which is not our requirement. So the A is going to be count is less than 100. And the D, it's an input output symbol again. So we are missing with our output. So definitely D is going to be your output. So it should be display what? The purpose of this flowchart is to find the maximum value. So you can say here, as for the D, you can say display X. Sorry, not X, I'm sorry, display max. That's going to be your answers. Hari, තේරුණාද? ඒක හොඳ hand tracing ගානක්, right? ඔයාලට ගොඩක් හිතන්න දේවල් තියෙනවා ඒකේ සහ පරිස්සමෙන් කරගෙන යන්න ඕන. Yeah, people just give me the confirmation. Is it okay? Do I need you to go through that again? Right, great. How about others? If you haven't done that, so it doesn't matter why I was doing this, for the help of your things in the MCQ paper. Right, so as the marking schemes shows you, so here they have done some mistake, count less than or equal 100 is given. And again, they have said 3 marks if this question is attempt with or without correct answers. Binu, yes, Binu, I'll go through that again. So other things, input X, max equals X, and output max is correct. So anyway, you are going to have 3 marks if you attempt this because of their incorrectness in the flow chart. So Binu, මේකයි පුතේ වෙන්නේ. හිතන්නකො මේකේ මුල ඉඳලා, right? So how it happens? Number එකක් ගත්තා. It's going to be 10. So after you take the 10, you have assigned that 10 to the max. So මෙතන 10 ආපු එක, it's become this 10 because max become 10. මම මුලින්ම extra 10 දුන්නා, then after 10 is given. Hey Shani, display X is wrong duo. Display X කියන්නේ පුතේ මොකද X කියන කෙනා max කෙනෙක් වෙයිද කියලා අපිට හිතන්න බෑ. ඒක වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් නොවෙන්නත් පුළුවන් දුව. right? ඔයා මගදී දැන් මේ 3ට දෙන්නේ 30නේ. 30ට පස්සේ වා දීපු ඉතිරි numbers 97ම 30ට අඩු සංඛ්‍යා දුන්න කියලා හිතන්නකො. 30ට අඩු සංඛ්‍යා දුන්නොත් 30 තමයි maximum number එක වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර අපිට max වෙච්ච ගමන් අපි ආව max ට දාගන්න ඕනේ නේද? මේ මෙතන කියලා තියෙනවනේ දැන් 20 දුන්නම max 20 වෙනවා. 30 දුන්නම max 30 වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මෙතනට යටින් 27 දුන්නොත් max 30 වෙන්නේ මේ max 30 කියන එක වෙනස් කරගන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද එයා max වලට වැඩිය අඩු number එක. right? එතකොට ඔයා ඔය ටික කොහොම පහළට ගෙනිච්චොත් අඩු numbers වලින් max වෙන්නේ 30. අපේ purpose එක පුතේ the final answer should be the maximum number. So displaying X won't give you the number. මොකද අන්තිමට දුන්නේ 7 නම් දුව 7 display කරොත් max විදිහට වැරදි. 100th value එක විදිහට 100 වෙනි value එක විදිහට 7 දුන්නොත් එයාව display කරොත් වැරදි. තේරුණාද හේෂානි? Yeah. So Binu, so when we give the value 10 for the X, max is assigned as 10. So count is equals to 1. That is the initialization part. Then the condition is count less than 100. So count එක 100 වලට වඩා අඩුයි එක තියෙන්නේ. Then we are giving the second value. In my case, I have given 20. Sorry, Dua, not the 20. So then if the condition is correct, 1 less than 100, so they are going to increase the count by 1. Count equals count plus 1. So it will become 2. Then they are asking for the input. So we are giving 20. In my case, I'm going to 20. So then then it checks whether X is larger than max. So X means 20 now. Max is 10 still. So it is larger than 10. So C says assign X to max. So that means 20 will be assigned. Then goes again and checks the condition, count less than 100. So it is 2, it is less than 100, so it increased. It will become 3. Then we are asked to give another number. Sorry, we are asked to give another number. So we are giving 30. So then again it is checked whether 30 is larger than the max. Max is 20 for the moment. So it is larger. So 20 is replaced by 30. Right? ඔය විදිහට තමයි යන්නේ. දැන් එතකොට අපි කොහොමද අපේ කනෙක්ෂන් එක අල්ලගන්නේ? පළවෙනිම නම්බර් එක දෙනකොට 10 දුන්නයින් පස්සේ තමයි 1 වෙන්නේ. මෙයා දීලා තමයි මෙතන 1 හැදුනේ. But then after inside the iteration, count equal count plus 1 is the earlier step and inputting a number is the later step. So count එකකින් වැඩි වෙලා තමයි number එක ඉල්ලගන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ 3 වුණාම තමයි 3 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගන්නේ. එහෙනම් 4 වුණාම 4 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගන්නවා. ඒ වගේ 100 වුණාම count එක 100 වුණාම තමයි 100 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගන්නේ. තේරුණාද බිනු? right. ඒක නිසා 100 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගත්තම අපේ iteration එක නතර වෙන්න ඕනේ. That is our requirement. Number 100ක් අරගෙන maximum එක කරනවා. කියන්නේ මෙතනදී 100 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගත්තම මෙතනින් compare වෙනවා 100 වෙනි number එක. Then 100 වෙනි number එකත් දැනට තියෙන max ට වඩා වැඩි නම් මෙයාව සිද්ධ වෙයි. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ පාත් එකේ ඇවිල්ලා ඔය විදිහට මෙතනට එන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මෙතනින් එහාට කන්ටිනියු වෙන්න බෑ. 100ක් ඉල්ලන් ඉවරයි. දැන් iterate වෙන එක නතර වෙන්න ඕනේ. So අපේ condition එක මෙහෙම තිබ්බොත් count less than 100 විදිහට තිබ්බොත් තමයි it's going to stop. මොකද එතනදී false කියලා answer එකක් එන්නේ. false වුණොත් no path එකේ යන්න පුළුවන්. මේක less than or equal තිබ්බනම් නේද? less than කියන එක false වුණත් equal කියන එක තාම true. එහෙම වුණා නම් මෙයා පහලට යන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. එහෙම ගියොත් 101 වෙනි number එක ඉල්ලගන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ requirement එක වර්ධිනවා. right? මොකද 101 වෙනි number එක දැනට තියෙන max ට වඩා ලොකු number එකක් දුන්නොත් 101කින් ලොකු number එක තමයි තෝරලා තියෙන්නේ. Did you got this people? Binu? Okay. Right, great. All right, people, that sum up the 2016 paper, right? So you have to go with the 2015. We have to discuss with the 2015 at the next week. So be prepared. I'm going to put the marking scheme at the very early in the morning in the next week. So we'll correct that and proceed. Right? ඒ වගේම තව දෙයක් කියන්න ඕනේ. දැන් විභාග චුට්ටක් ඉස්සරහට ගියා. Right? Like we can't help with it. Right? අපිට බෑ වෙනස් කරගන්න මේ වෙලේ. Right? So keep the spirit. Right? තව මාස දෙකකින් ඕගොල්ලෝ යන්න ඕනේ. 3ක් ඉස්සරහට ගිහිල්ලා නැහැ. දැන් අපි දෙසැම්බර් මැද ඉන්නේ. Right? ජනවාරි ඉවරයි, පෙබරවාරි ඉවර වෙච්ච ගමන් විභාගය. So only 2 months to go. So keep it up. We are continuing the things. And yes, by next week, I'm not going to shift to the 2015 paper first. I am going to wind up the theory part that we were missing, which is in the last lesson. Right? අපි සමහර ඒවා papers කරනකොට අතරමඟදී කතා කරා. ඒක නිසා මම අර theory part ටික ටක් දාලා go through කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි paper එකට යන්නේ. Right? So be prepared, right, with the paper, and I'm going to do the theory part පොඩි වෙලාවක්. ඒ කියන්නේ සම්පූර්ණ පැයකමාරම යන්නේ. First half an hour අපි theory ටිකක් කතා කරලා then we are going to move to the paper, right? Because we have to do like get done with the last lesson, right? Okay, people, so thank you very much. We are going to meet on the next Saturday for the very same time, right? So have a nice weekend, right? Goodbye. So I'm going to end the session at this point. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right, okay.